This, ladies and gentlemen, is a 2018 Honda Clarity, and it actually is one better than that. It happens to be my 2018 Honda Clarity, and in this video, I'm going to tell you why you should buy one. So if you're new to the channel, thank you for watching, and if you like what I'm doing, I politely encourage you to hit that subscribe button and maybe throw me a like if you like that. If you're familiar with the channel, then thank you again for watching. I really appreciate every second of viewership that you folks give me, and the comments and everything else. So I think this is quite a lot of fun, so I like to keep doing it, and that stuff encourages me. So, but that brings me to this video. If you are familiar with my channel, you'll know that I'm quite fond of this car, even though I did do a video about 5 things I'm not so fond of. Everyone seems to do that. I thought it would be a good idea to give you what my take was on this car after a good solid year of ownership. But that's not why I'm here today. And I'm here at the source of the Columbia River up here in the beautiful Rocky Mountains. I thought it would be a perfect opportunity to really dive into the fundamental reason, single reason, why we should all have a car like this. And maybe not even exactly the Honda Clarity, no disrespect to my fantastic car, but the fundamental reason why I think everyone should have a car like this is, even in this day and age, I love all of the fancy cars, BMWs, Mercedes. I've had a couple. I even still love my good old Honda S2000 and things like that. They're fundamentally great cars, but the biggest drawback is the cost of ownership. You know, I don't know about you, but you know, sometimes you go to the dealership, you get lost in the vision of what that car is and what it might do for you, and what you was not really top of mind, nor should you really expect it when you're buying a new car, is the costs involved with operating that car. And I am, you know, being a car guy for a number of years, I'm quite shocked, frankly, that the average car costs several $1,000s a year for some pretty fundamental maintenance and things like that. Which brings me to this car. I've been able to drive this car, I would say 3/4. If you'll go back through my other videos, you'll see the math that I did. But I've driven 3/4 of the mileage on this car on full electric, and at that cost, it's about 2 cents per kilometer, so call it 3.2 cents per mile to drive this car. That's just for operating, and when that gas motor is not running, I save all of that maintenance. I defer all of the maintenance for that motor and anything mechanical related to it. And that is fundamentally one of the big reasons why you should buy a car like this. This thing has no transmission, effectively. It has no alternator. It has no starter. It has a timing chain. It doesn't even have a belt. So in this case, all of this stuff is getting some viewership here. Excuse me. Well, let's turn back to driving in the car here now. So, as I say in the title of this video, what the hell is a Honda Clarity and why should you buy one? If you're familiar with my channel, then you've obviously, and thank you for that, you would have heard a lot of the positives and some of the negatives about this car as to why you should want to own it. But if you're new to the Honda Clarity and the channel, first of all, thank you for paying attention. And if you do find this video useful, as always, I politely and kindly ask that you might consider subscribing, as well as tossing me a like. And please, as always, I love commentary, positive and negative. You know, I take it all as constructive. I think that's fantastic. It's great to have a dialogue about things that we love and cars like this and all the rest of that. So thank you. But moving on. So what the hell is a 2018 Honda Clarity? And I actually happen to have the touring model. So if you're familiar with Honda cars, you'll understand and know that the touring model is not, you know, it's just up from the base model. And in this particular case, my Clarity has the leather seats. It's got the nav and all that stuff, which I'm sure I couldn't imagine a car wouldn't come with that nowadays. Anyway, but it also has the excuse me, the lane keep assist and the radar cruise control, or adaptive cruise control as it's called, and the emergency lane departure warning and things like that. Mitigation, actually. It does actually grab the wheel and try to keep you on the road, which is, given the surroundings, I'm not about to give that one a test, simply because it's a big drop off the side of some of these mountain passes here. So But what is the Honda Clarity? So at its heart, it is a plug-in hybrid. I believe it's frankly Honda's first foray into the plug-in hybrid world. I could be wrong there, but please correct me if I am. But otherwise, it certainly is their first foray into the mid-size, quasi-full-size sedan with plug-in hybrid capability. So in this case, this car has a 17 kilowatt battery pack, and it's augmented by a 1.5 liter 16 valve gas motor that is actually not directly connected to the wheels. That's unique to this car, I believe. I think the Priuses do, if you nail the throttle in a Prius, it will ultimately engage. I think it's more like a differential type of situation there, but it will actually engage and drive the front wheels. This car does not. It has a single speed transmission, such as they call it, which really means it just has none. And the motor, if it comes on, serves only to generate electricity, which the electric motors will use to drive the car. So that's pretty cool, because the fundamental theme for this video is why you should have one of these things, and I'll get to that in a minute. So again, 17 kilowatt battery, its EPA rating of about 47 miles, which given that's about 73 kilometers, which oddly enough, I've done a few range tests in the warmer weather too, and my longest range that I was able to eke out of this car on a full electric charge, right down to where the motor turns on, the gas motor turns on, is 73.5 kilometers. So if you're interested in the video for that, please have a look at my other content, and you'll see it there. So that's what you get with this car, and fundamentally, if you don't live in a place, or it's not quite where you are in your life, to have a full electric car, because you need to be on the highway, and where I am now is pretty remote. There is actually a Tesla supercharging station about 60 miles from here. It wouldn't work for this car, unfortunately, but again, it's pretty remote here, and it's about 200 miles now to the next filling station, so I'm glad I've got an efficient car and a good tank of gas here. But this car, to me, and the reason why I think you folks should really consider buying one, this model or anything that's similarly plug-in hybrid with this range and supplemented by a gas motor, is I drive this car fundamentally on electricity. I have let's actually have a look right now live. I have 24,110 kilometers on this car now, which is amazing. I've owned it for over a year. I bought it last March, so just over a year. And I have driven 6,600 kilometers of that 24,000 kilometers, so call that 4,000 miles out of, what would that be, 17 and a half on electricity, which not only has a lower operating cost, again, if you see me on the videos, it's about 2 cents a kilometer, call it 3.2 cents a mile on electricity only. And I did use a calculation that included the oil change that I did, just simply because the maintenance minder was telling me I needed to do that. But all of that aside, even that low operating cost compared to the gas motor, what I've been able to defer, and I really boil it down to this, is I've been able to defer that maintenance. So I'm effectively paying for maintenance on 4,000 miles, but I've gotten 17,000 miles of travel out of this car. So you're almost, dare I say it, getting those additional miles for practically free. And yes, of course, there's the tires wear out and the brakes, although this thing I use the regen feature, and you get used to that, and so I'm using the brakes, I would say, about 30% of the time that I normally would otherwise, and that's a huge savings. And of course, without the gas motor running, it's effectively along for the ride, so it does not need the maintenance that you would normally need, given the mileage that this car has. So again, to put it back in my terms, because I'm Canadian, 6,600 kilometers, maybe close to 7,000 now. This is my 16th tank of fuel, because I've had to leave the city a few times. It's a 26 liter fuel tank, which is like 7 gallons, I think. It's really low, small. So that's, even then at 16 is not very many, but you consider that this car has about half the fuel tank size as a typical full to mid-size sedan like this. So that's amazing. And again, I'm paying maintenance for all of those the more complex structure devices, like the ICE, like a gearbox if there was one, and all of that I'm effectively just not paying for. So it's like owning a golf cart, frankly. There are so few moving parts and so few parts that require the maintenance compared to an internal combustion engine, that it's effectively free, like I say, and there's no downside if you don't live in a place, or if your life situation isn't where you can handle a fully electric car, it's absolutely the best of both worlds. So if you have the gas motor when you need it, if you need the range, there's none of that fear. Fully tanked up, this thing says it's got a range of over 1,000 miles with the electric too. I'm actually going downhill right now, and I'm generating electricity that's effectively filling my fuel tank as I go down these hills, and so the gas motor is already turned off, and I've already got 2 additional bars of charge, which will give me probably 15 to 20 kilometers. So sure, the motor was kind of making some noise as I went up some of these hills, but as I go back down, I'm generating electricity. You know, when was the last time you drove your gas car and the fuel tank just filled up slowly as you were going down the hill, and you're still making forward progress? To me, that speaks for itself. And despite the fact that I love cars and motorcycles and sports cars and vintage cars and airplanes and all of those great things that burn fuel, I'm not fully divorced from that stuff yet. I'm working on my Honda S2000 at the moment. Like, I love all that stuff. But if you need a regular, daily driven, practical car because you got kids, dogs, gear, bicycles, all the rest of that stuff that you have, this can practically do no wrong, because the cost of maintenance is so little. And that's not in absolute terms, that's in relative terms. The cars I've had before this, I had 2 Mercedes-Benz, beautiful, one that was so fast and so amazing, but I felt I couldn't pour fuel out as fast out the window as fast as that thing burned it. Again, it was amazing, dynamically amazing, capable, still carried my kids and I and everything else we needed, hockey gear, but I felt like I was clubbing baby seals as I drove it down the street. It just burned so much fuel. And then the next car I had was actually a Mercedes diesel wagon, which I really loved the concept of, but that thing, the maintenance, it was $5,000 for this and $2,000 for that, and I didn't have it for very many years. And yes, I bought it used, but yes, I had the extended warranty on it as well. But even that, it still cost multiple $1,000s to get 25,000 kilometers out of it. And again, I'm almost there now, and I've paid practically nothing. The oil change I even did myself, and the cost of oil and a filter is next to nothing. You check the brakes as you're supposed to at that service. The brakes are obviously fine. They're hardly used. So in real world, comparable, alternatives, this car is just light years ahead when it comes to maintenance and cost. I even get paid for mileage in my job, and what I get paid for the industry standard for where I live is dramatically higher than the cost of this car. And yes, the cost to operate this car. And yes, of course, you pay more for the privilege than you would if, like, the typical Honda Accord Touring, which is what this car would be comparable to. They're kind of the same size. Well, I think they're exactly the same wheelbase, frankly. Someone could correct me there, but I recall that. But around town, charging at night in my garage, it costs me $1.30 every night to get a full charge from empty. And with that, I get about 73 kilometers. That's the best. You can calculate there. In the winter, obviously it's less, but same with the gas motor. You just can't beat this thing. And I'm going 50 miles an hour now. It's in a national park, so of course we go a little slower. But this thing is dead quiet. I haven't pulled out my decibel meter to see yet just how much quieter it is than some of my other cars. And that's even with the high efficiency tires, because those things tend to be noisy and hard, obviously given that they're trying to get eke out the best economy as they can. So I'm going to continue to ramble a bit for the only purpose of sharing the view with you folks, because again, as I said, I started this video at the source of the Columbia River. So as it leaves Canada and goes through Washington and into Oregon, and I think even does the Columbia River go into California? Maybe not. This is the source of it. Water from these glaciers up here go into 5 oceans from the continental divide where we are here. It's a spectacular piece of scenery. It's a spectacular part of the world. And if you get the pleasure to come up here, I strongly encourage it, because it really is like no other.